Hi, this is Kendall Boyson, professional life and recovery coach, and you're listening to Encouragementology, the practice of instilling hope. Hi there. Thanks for joining me. On this show, we're exploring the exhausting reality of modern communication and asking, how do we find peace in a world that won't stop talking? Every ping, ding, scroll, and swipe chips away at your attention. You're bombarded with messages from friends, strangers, brands, and bots. You're constantly evaluating. Is this urgent? Is it true? Is it for me? Even before you form a thought, you're nudged to like, reply, share, or shut down. And in the middle of all that noise, it's easy to lose your own voice, or worse, your sense of peace. So today, we're diving into the noise. Not just the noise around you, but the noise within. We'll explore how communication overload affects your emotional well-being, how to tell the difference between being informed and being overwhelmed, and how to create more calm, clarity, and connection in your life. Because unplugging doesn't mean you're ignoring the world. It might just mean you're finally listening to yourself. Let's face it, communication today is no longer about one conversation at a time. It's a swirling mess of text, emails, social posts, push notification, Slack messages, breaking news, and podcast alerts. We're swimming in a digital sea of information and opinion, all clamoring for our attention. And while access has never been greater, clarity has never felt so out of reach. Do you ever feel like you're constantly reacting? Reacting to headlines, to tone, to perceived urgency? It's as if we've all been trained to respond immediately, decisively, and publicly. That demand for constant engagement doesn't leave much room for thoughtful processing, and it definitely doesn't leave space for rest. And what about accuracy? Today, you can't take anything at face value. A single quote can be taken out of context or spark outrage. A misleading headline can travel faster than the truth. You're expected to know what's happening in the world, take a stand, and keep up, while somehow staying balanced and well-informed. It's exhausting. But this isn't just about the news cycle or technology. It's about the toll it takes on your nervous system. When you're constantly on high alert, evaluating what's real, what's urgent, and what's emotionally loaded, it's no wonder you're tired. This level of overstimulation leads to burnout, anxiety, and even feelings of helplessness. So what do? How do we begin to carve out moments of peace in the middle of the communication storm? Sometimes it's not about cutting everything out. It's just about turning down the volume. In a world where constant communication is the norm, it's important to ask, what's truly serving me? And what's just noise? Let's start with your daily inputs. Take a moment to consider how many channels are pulling at your attention. News alerts, group texts, emails, work messages, social feeds, app notifications. Most of these come in without consent. They're automatic, but you have more control than you think. Ask yourself, do I need to be notified every time something happens? Do I feel obligated to respond immediately? Am I consuming content that leaves me drained, anxious, and angry? Now think about what's missing. When was the last time you experienced uninterrupted thought? Sat in silence, enjoyed a moment of peace without reaching for your phone. Many of us aren't afraid of being disconnected. We're afraid of being left out, uninformed, or even judged for not knowing the latest. But being informed isn't the same as being overwhelmed. This is where boundaries come in. You're allowed to protect your peace. You don't owe anyone 24/7 access to your attention or your opinion. Setting limits around technology, choosing the right sources of information, and allowing yourself space to process, these aren't luxuries, they're necessities. What if instead of reaching to every ping or post, you gave yourself permission to pause? What would your day feel like with more intentionality and less interruption? Before we move forward, let's anchor in the science. What information overload actually does to your brain, and how simple shifts can reverse the effect. This article unpacks the link between overstimulation and stress, and offers some practical ways to unplug thoughtfully without feeling disconnected. In today's fast-paced world, we're surrounded by more information than ever. Through the internet, social media, and smartphones, we can access almost any piece of information we want in seconds. However, having so much information at your fingertips is having big effects on your mental health. Understanding these effects and finding ways to cope with them are crucial. So what is information overload? Our journey from oral traditions to the current digital explosion has been long and transformative. The transformation is how information is shared, accessed, and consumed over centuries, has drastically changed our interaction with knowledge, enriching our lives, but also bringing forth unique challenges. Information overload occurs when the flow and amount of information is too much for our brains to process. This bombardment can lead to confusion, indecisiveness, stress, and eventually mental fatigue. Deciding what is worth our attention becomes highly difficult in this flood. In our current landscape, information is everywhere. From waking up to the moment we sleep, we are wrapped in a whirlwind of facts, updates, news, and media content. Access to an overwhelmingly amount of information is now just a click away, a reality with far-reaching implications. So here are 4 ways information overload impacts our mental health. Number 1, psychological stress and anxiety of information overload. This constant bombardment of information leads to elevated stress and anxiety levels. The overwhelming need to process every piece of information and the inability to do so can create an unstable mental state. People also may end up feeling lost and anxious, struggling to discern what truly matters. The constant noise created by information overload has a collective effect on our minds, developing both anxiety and confusion. The perpetual tension and restlessness can rise, affecting our emotional well-being, which can lead to many psychological discomforts like mood swings, irritability, and depression. Number 2, sleep and its complications. The unwavering desire to stay in the know and the perpetual connection to the digital world endanger our sleep quality and duration. The constant interaction with screens and the accompanied blue light disturbs our natural sleep, our rhythm, leaving us tired and mentally strained. A disrupted sleep cycle not only impacts our physical health, but also significantly impairs our mental abilities. The resulting fatigue worsens stress levels, decreases our ability to regulate emotions, and impacts our overall mood, creating a vicious cycle of mental unrest. Number 3, struggles with attention and concentration. A world filled with information from countless sources divides our attention and makes concentrating on singular tasks seemingly impossible. The continuous distractions negatively impact our ability to maintain focus. Then we have a decreased sense of accomplishment because it takes us longer to complete the tasks at hand. A fractured attention span restricts our intellectual capabilities, reducing our efficiency and productivity. The struggle to concentrate because of information overload can lead to frustration and an increased sense of overwhelm. All of these effects can make the completion of even the most everyday tasks a challenge. Number 4, social comparison and dented self-esteem. Social media is a breeding ground for comparison, which can lead to issues with self-esteem. The constant exposure to others' highlight reels can lead to feelings of inadequacy and lower self-worth, fueling discontent and a distorted perception of reality. I want to insert an idea here, because many of us look over what I just said by saying, well, I don't look at other people on social media and wish I were them. Or if they post a picture of a new car they just bought or a new job they just achieved or moved to, I don't feel jealousy. That's not really what we're saying here. You need to realize the subtle differences. Looking at that over and over again, almost like accumulative, can put that pressure of dissatisfaction deep in your heart, and you don't even know it's there. It's just this level of dissatisfaction. The adverse effect of such comparison on our mental health is serious. It fosters a negative self-image and intensifies feelings of envy and dissatisfaction. This distorted sense of self can permeate our daily lives, affecting our behavior, relationships, and overall outlook on life. But no fear, here are 4 ways to cope with information overload. Number 1, the role of the digital detox. You knew it was coming. Regularly disconnecting from the digital world allows us to step back and live in the present, fostering mental clarity and reducing stress levels. A digital detox acts as a mental palate cleanser, giving us the opportunity to reconnect with our environment and the people around us. Ultimately, it helps us refresh our minds. Mindful interaction with technology is critical. Ways to practice digital detox include limiting your screen time. There is more than one way to limit the amount of time you spend on your phone or screens, like putting your phone in another room during meals or before going to bed. Setting time limits on using the apps you scroll through the most on your phone settings. Assigning yourself one day each week or month where you don't use your phone or any devices. Can you imagine? Turning off the TV at a certain time or replacing watching TV altogether to read before bed. My husband and I do sleep with our phones in a different room. That has really helped. Now, most of you might say, well, my sound machine's on there, or I have my alarm clock. Nope. I bought an alarm clock with a sound machine. Those still exist. Being conscious of our digital consumption patterns can significantly lessen the adverse effects of information overload while also promoting mental peace and well-being. Number 2, embracing mindfulness and meditation. You knew it was in there. It's always in there. How many of us are doing it with any type of regularity? Mindfulness and meditation serve as sanctuaries in the chaotic world of information. They help in developing a balanced and focused mind, which is essential in navigating the complex web of data surrounding us. Regular mindfulness practices can provide a sense of stability and peace in our cluttered minds. Meditation allows us to observe our thoughts and feelings without being overwhelmed by them. It teaches us to approach our mental processes with a non-judgmental mindset, enabling us to deal with information overload more effectively, reducing stress, as well as enhancing our overall mood. Number 3, strategic information management. To navigate through the maze of information effectively, it's important to create a structured and strategic way to manage information. By regularly filtering and prioritizing information, we can protect our minds from unnecessary clutter and maintain our mental equilibrium. One great way to practice managing information is to dedicate certain times of the day to consuming certain types of information. Here are a few examples. Check your email only at the beginning, middle, and end of the workday. Only scroll through or respond to messages on social media during lunch. Read news articles while drinking your morning coffee or tea. Oh boy, I'll tell you, when I am on the computer, it's like squirrel. I literally can be all the way to the end of an email. Getting ready to sign off. And I get a thought. And I decide to research it right then. It's crazy how you can get so distracted. Number 4, healthy lifestyle habits. Maintaining a healthy lifestyle that includes regular exercise, balanced nutrition, and sufficient sleep is fundamental to building mental strength against the negative impacts of information overload. Establishing such balanced routines provides the stability needed to face the challenges posed by excessive information. And I would think that that lifestyle really wards off so many different attacks that might be coming from every angle. Developing positive and supportive social connections is equally as important. Healthy relationships act as buffers against stress and provides emotional support, strengthening our mental defenses against the potentially harmful effects of living in a world flooded with information. So in a nutshell, this article outlines how too much digital input can hijack your mental peace and how stepping back can restore it. It offers things like overload creates fog and anxiety. So we know this, but constant streams of headlines and alerts raise stress hormones and dulls clarity. Long term, this hinders decision-making and focus, and you can see it's kind of like giving you a blindfold and a bat and spinning you around. Mental pause resets your mind. So taking scheduled breaks like screen-free meals or evenings. This gives your brain a chance to reset, leading to greater calm and mental clarity. And then remember, you can intentionally unplug for self-care. Limiting your push alerts or tech exposure isn't about punishing yourself. It's about habit-building boundaries that preserve your energy and emotional health. So, in short, unplugging isn't about fear. It's about creating space to breathe. It's not a luxury. It's foundational to mental wellness. Too much input can drown out your inner voice. So, let's get intentional. This isn't about disconnecting from the world. It's about reconnecting to yourself. It's time for our action plan. Here is your step-by-step plan to quiet the noise and recalm your peace. Okay? Take inventory of what you're absorbing daily, whether that's text, emails, podcasts, social media, news alerts, or even background noise. Ask yourself, what makes me feel anxious or drained after consuming it? What sources do I trust and which just fill time? Where can I cut back without missing anything essential? Decide how and when you want to receive your communications. This is important. You're in control, so try these ideas. Silence non-urgent notifications for certain blocks of the day. I get a ton of email. I have a lot of email accounts that I manage. I don't think anything is on fire. If it were, wouldn't they call me or text me? Create quiet zones like tech-free meals, mornings, or before bed. Use do not disturb settings to protect your peace. This is very important. If you sleep with your phone in your room, put on your do not disturb. That's important. You need your time. Shift from passive to purposeful. Instead of reacting to every ping, reach out with intention. Like schedule a weekly check-in with a friend instead of daily texts. In fact, have a coffee catch-up in person when you can. Opt for voice memos or calls when the tone and connection matter. These are great. You can say a lot of stuff and you can control the tone. Be selective about what you comment on or repost. Ask yourself, is this true, helpful, and most importantly, kind? Be the peaceful presence in someone's day. You can do this. Practice it. Speak slower and more thoughtfully. Listen without rushing to respond. And remember, offer encouragement, not just opinions. Sometimes someone just needs you to say, I hear you. I believe in you. I'll be thinking about you. Instead of, oh yeah, well listen to this. Make space for silence. Create just some small rituals. Think about one you could do this week. A 5-minute breathing practice after work. You know, if you work in the office, go sit in the car before you start it up, before you turn on the music. Just breathe. Let yourself decompress naturally. This will help you on your drive home. It'll also help you not bringing problems from work into the house. Journaling before you check your phone. This is important. If you journal in the morning, journal just right off the cuff, whatever's coming to your mind. Don't get influenced first. And then try a nature walk without earbuds. Can you imagine listening to the birds? Sounds so foreign. Your mind deserves clarity. Your emotions deserve protection. And your energy deserves direction. So start with one small change and build from there. Before we dive into journaling, because I want to give you some time to think about that, but let's spotlight a study that underscores a key truth. Not all communication styles carry the same mental health impact. While so many of us default to digital messaging, researchers found that in-person, face-to-face interaction consistently correlates with stronger mental health, especially compared to video calls, texts, or emails. With the advance of our digital age and social media, many forms of social commerce that used to require face-to-face interaction have been augmented and at times supplemented by digital means. These days, you need not face your bank teller, travel agent, store clerk, restaurant staff, investment consultant, doctor, or therapist for that matter, to do business with them. In many ways, this constitutes progress as digital technologies can make the mechanics of work and leisure faster, less taxing, and more efficient. But everything comes at a price. As the prevalence and cash of face-to-face interaction wane, some unique benefits may also be lost. Social scientists have long been interested in the potential costs we incur by outsourcing our traditional face-to-face ways to digital technology. Two central questions guide much of this research. 1. Do we lose something substantial regarding health and well-being when we turn away from face-to-face communication? And number 2, if so, why? The COVID pandemic has provided social scientists with a unique opportunity to study these questions, as millions of people were forced to replace face-to-face interaction with digital ones, creating what scientists call a natural experiment. A new study from 2023 in the journal Nature sought to capitalize on the unique conditions created by the pandemic to provide fresh insights into the questions. A team of Austrian scientists led by Stefan Steiger collected data on over 400 participants' communication and mental health over a 4-week span during the pandemic lockdown period. Using the technique of experience sampling, a commonly used longitude research technique that involves asking participants to repeatedly report on their thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and environment on multiple occasions. The study had participants report at the end of each day their mental health, time spent on face-to-face communication, and time spent on digital text-based communication, like email, video conferencing, WhatsApp, and telephone calls, as well as outdoor and physical activities. The results suggest that face-to-face communication indeed differs significantly from digital communication in terms of mental health. The authors found that people who generally spent more time on face-to-face and digital text communication during the lockdown had better mental health than people who generally spent less time on face-to-face and digital text communication, and vice versa. In addition, mental health was also better on days when people spent more time on face-to-face communication than usual. Looking at the link between various communication modalities and mental health, the researchers found that face-to-face communication was the most important predictor of mental health during the lockdown, followed by age. Older people fared better, and digital text communication, all of which were more predictive of mental health than physical and outdoor activity. Interestingly, video conferencing, telecommunication, and gender were not strongly linked to mental health during lockdown. The authors stated, "Our results are clear. Face-to-face communication was much more important for lockdown mental health than digital. The multitude of digital communication devices and services available in the Western world still appear to be unequal substitutes for face-to-face interaction." Are you hearing me? So the data suggests that the answer to the first question is yes. Face-to-face communication appears to predict mental health. Now, what about the second question? Prominent theorizing about this question proposes that face-to-face interactions may be more beneficial than digital because they convey richer, more nuanced personal and social information, i.e., body language, voice pitch, mimic, eye gaze, head position, etc., facilitating higher levels of intimacy and trust among participants. An evolutionary argument may also be advanced. We have evolved with face-to-face communications. Thus, the ability to unconsciously detect important yet subtle cues about each other, friend or foe, during face-to-face contact is likely coded into our neuropsychology. Not so for digital communications. Yet the authors noted digital text communication was much more predictive of lockdown mental health than video conferencing. Even though video conferencing allows communication partners to experience many more visual and audible cues than digital text communication. These findings are surprising as they appear to contradict the rich communication hypothesis. The authors speculated that video conferencing can cause adverse effects such as mental tiredness, anxiety due to focus on appearance, prolonged eye contact, larger faces due to screen size, and the perceived dominance of a communication partner due to low camera position, and cognitive burden due to the slight technological asynchrony of video calls. They suggested, in addition, that video conferencing in their sample may have been used mostly in work situations, accounting for its less than positive effect. Still, the benefits of text over video, if replicated, and the potential links between video conferencing and mental strain like Zoom fatigue await a full explanation, particularly since post-pandemic digital video applications have spread into multiple realms of service, including education, health, and psychotherapy. In sum, these findings join an emerging body of literature pointing in the same direction. In the words of the authors, technology-mediated communication is not capable of being a substitute for face-to-face communication. At least not yet. As the rapid recent advancement of AI's capabilities to generate high-quality natural language texts demonstrates, technology's capacity to usurp long-cherished human functions should not be underestimated. Soon, your robot friend may be able to interact face-to-face with you without mediating and alienating screens. And the interaction may prove more beneficial in terms of mental health than a conversation with your flesh and blood pals. So in a nutshell, this research from Psychology Today shows us that real in-person interaction matters more than we realize. And I am a fan. Face-to-face wins. Woohoo! During the pandemic lockdown study, the people who communicated more in person had notably better mental health than those relying heavily on digital modes. Text-based messaging scored second best. Video calls and chats trailed behind. Why does it matter? Well, face-to-face communication gives you rich social cues like body language, tone, eye contact that create trust and connection. These aren't fully replicated digitally, and our brains feel the difference. There is a hidden toll of video. Unlike texting, video calls demand even more mental energy, like keeping your camera on, interpreting delayed cues, sustained awkward eye contact. No wonder we feel worn out after back-to-back Zooms. In other words, digital communication isn't bad, but it's not equal to real presence. If mental clarity and emotional well-being matter to you, cultivating more in-person interaction can feel like oxygen in a noisy world. In a world full of pings, posts, and pressure to stay plugged in, true connection can feel more elusive than ever. But connection isn't just about staying in touch. It's about feeling seen, understood, and supported. So, let's pause and get curious about what kind of connection you actually need. Consider this time a reset, not to unplug from everyone, but to recenter and align with the relationships and rhythms that nourish you. Take out your journal, open a blank note on your phone, or just close your eyes and reflect deeply as we explore. awareness. Start with this thought. Just because I'm accessible doesn't mean I'm connected. What's been my primary mode of communication lately? How does it make me feel? Energized? Anxious? Or indifferent? Am I spending more time reacting to messages or engaging in meaningful conversation? Do I feel more connected to others than I do to myself? Evaluation. Shift into this question. What does connection mean to me right now? Do I crave deeper conversations or more quiet companionship? Am I missing laughter, encouragement, accountability, or simply someone who gets it? Are there people in my life who want to connect, but I've kept at a distance? Why? Intention. Let's look forward. How can I create more meaningful connections in my life? What boundaries do I need to set around overstimulation to make room for genuine connection? Who brings me peace, clarity, or joy? When's the last time we talked without distractions? What's one intentional way I can show up for someone else this week with no expectations? You deserve connection that fills you, not drains you. Take a few quiet minutes to sit with your answers. Breathe deeply, let your truth rise to the surface. Before we wrap up today, let's take a moment to reset with a powerful message on digital overstimulation and reclaiming your peace. This comes from Nathaniel Drew, a filmmaker and mental clarity advocate who explores what it means to live with more intention in a noisy world. He reflects on the subtle, often invisible toll of information overload and what happens when we never give our minds a chance to reset. It's not just about putting the phone down. It's about finding clarity, space, and control in a hyper-connected world. Let's listen in.
What if I told you there was a drug that could reduce your risk of early mortality by almost 50%? What if this same drug helped breast cancer patients survive almost twice as long as a control group without it? And this same drug could reduce stress, anxiety, and depression among children and adults with no side effects? What if I told you this drug was genuine social connection? Now, granted, you can't take this in pill form, but the health impacts here are staggering. The human body is wired for connection, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Further, who you are connected to and the ideas and behaviors you're exposed to play an extremely important role in your life and your health. In network science, we use the term diffusion to represent how an idea or behavior is spread from person to person through social interactions and social connection. Tonight, I would like to guide you through a reflection of your own social connections and how they might impact your health, and hopefully diffuse a little good health along the way. For this purpose, I've laid out 3 forms of social connection: close connection, common clusters, and coincidental contacts. While connection can mean so many things, I'd like to start off with a definition of connection from one of my favorite researchers, Brene Brown. As a social worker and social scientist who studies emotion and vulnerability, Dr. Brown defines connection as the energy between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. Now I'd like you to picture people in your life that fit that definition of close connection. These could be close friends, maybe family members. Most of you will have less than 5 people that fit this definition of close connection, but these people are the foundation of your social support network. Chances are all these people will know one another, as close friends and family members tend to interact, creating a dense web of interlocking connections and a stabilizing presence in your life. This stability can be a lifelong source of safety and support. However, it also means that the ideas and behaviors of this close-knit group can be hard to change, which grounds us in value systems and behavioral habits. Think about it. We tend to walk, talk, eat, play, think, even laugh like the people that occupy these closest social support roles. Building out from there, think about the groups in which you belong or the people you see on a consistent basis. These could be coworkers, classmates, people at church, or other groups you belong to. While you may have several of these common clusters, research tells us that they may not overlap, and they may only be privy to part of your life. Because of this distance, it's more likely that new ideas or behaviors will come from these groups as opposed to your core support network. Research also tells us that we may be more willing to confide in individuals in these groups during difficult or stressful situations, as they may not have access to others in our social circle, hence reducing the risk of judgment from those closest to us. Lastly, think about the otherwise random people you might bump into or encounter throughout the day. I've labeled these as coincidental contacts. These could be people in your neighborhood, a barista, or a cashier. While you may not know much about them, I'd like you to think of the nature of these interactions. Are they positive, negative, or otherwise neutral? Having more positive interactions in this way can significantly improve your mood, reduce stress hormones, and reduce your blood pressure over time. In fact, recent research on brain disorders like Alzheimer's and dementia indicate that it's these varied interactions in combination with a strong social support network that keep the brain functioning well. Now, before I close, I'd like to give you a bit of homework for each of these circles. Within coincidental contacts, remember that with a smile, eye contact, and a few positive words, you can improve your mood and health as well as theirs. Within common clusters, try to see connections between groups. Identify individuals that might benefit from knowing one another and make the introduction. Lastly, think back to the people that you listed as your close connections, the people that mean the most in your life. I'd like you to reach out to those people. Tell them what they mean to you and express gratitude and appreciation for their presence in your life. Expressing gratitude can not only strengthen your connection, but it can have significant health benefits for the both of you. By spreading just a bit of appreciation and positivity, you can diffuse good health to those around you. Thank you for your time.
If you want to share encouragementology with a friend who needs to know they're not alone in this journey of self-discovery, you can visit encouragementology.com or anywhere you stream your content to receive this episode and all others. Check out the show notes for the 5-day journaling companion and follow us on Facebook and Instagram for additional encouragement throughout the week. So I challenge you, step back from the noise this week and take inventory. What sources of information, opinions, or stimulation are truly serving your well-being, and which ones are just draining your energy? Creating peace starts with protecting your attention. I know you can do it. Thank you for listening to Encouragementology with Kendall Boyson, where we find positive ways to handle some of life's challenges.
Stumble through until the path was clear.